Hello and welcome to another jungle video, and in this one we are going to be going over every single champion in the game and assessing which are the best to gank for, which are the worst to gank for, and then also telling you which are the best junglers. Every role, every champion covered up in this video, all presented in beautiful infographic format, and really there's nothing more to add. Simply put, junglers, supports, mids, anyone who roams and anyone who ganks, they don't always recognize the best power spikes for other laners. They can't simply look at the loading screen and assess which are the best lanes to gank early and at different spikes based upon their chosen champion. And so hopefully with this video can enlighten you just a little bit and give you a nice overview about the different levels and styles of champions we have in the game. So as always, if you enjoy and learn something, please consider leaving a like and of course subscribing. I have the gameplay channel for all your champion variety goodness, as well as a coaching link in the description below. And now without hesitation, let's begin. Now just an idea for the structure of the video, we will go over all champions that can go into solo lanes, we will look at supports and marksmen, and then I will show you the best junglers for ganking, and of course every jungler should look to gank. So on your screen now, you will see an S page, an A page, a B page, and a C page. Now I'm not going to list every single champion because we'd be here all day, but you can see we have Camille, Set, Maokai, Ornn, Galio, Gragas, Renekton, and maybe even a Shen. All these champions have a load of CC in their kit or simple to use CC. Shen and Renekton, while they're not necessarily the best to gank on the S page, they do have a very easy way of setting up junglers who also have CC, or simply put the Renekton Nidalee combo, or the Renekton Taliyah combo. You see where I'm going with this. Alternatively, you have things like Malzahar, which are very level 6 focused. However, when Malzahar hits level 6, he presses the magical button, the jungler says thank you very much, and you destroy him, and if you don't kill him in that initial combo, the space herpes from Malzahar will surely kill him very soon. I'd like to say you should use protection against space herpes, but the thing is, it's Malzahar, it's point and click, and it's really easy to follow up on. Other champions like Kassadin, Katarina, Fizz, they are not necessarily great for ganking in terms of CC like a Riven or Lissandra, but simply put, they scale and snowball without remorse. Getting a Kassadin ahead is just absolutely hilarious. Getting a Katarina ahead lets you as a jungler work with her to invade, roam, and 4v2 bottom lanes because that's what they deserve. That's why it's very common to see things like Rengar, Katarina, Rek'Sai, and Kassadin be good duos. They both scale supremely hard, or in Rek'Sai's case, just set them up for absolute free ganks in the first 5 minutes. That's why it's not necessarily just pure CC that makes a lane good to gank, it's also their ability to do the damage in that short window when you as the jungler hit the CC or the support, and then they can follow up, kill the person, and then use that goal to snowball the map. And then you look at things like the A tier page, and you could honestly argue maybe some of these are great S, maybe some of them are actually worse. The thing is, in this category, you don't exactly have the same level of insane scaling, and you don't exactly have the same level of disruptive CC. Jax has easy to use CC and he can scale, but it's definitely not as dense and abusable as things like a Camille or a Riven. The amount of CC those champions have for setup is just so good it makes it so easy to gank. Whereas in this tier, you've got things like Rengar top lane, Fiora, which is just a great duelist to snowball, Kiana same thing, Nico's got a 3000 year root, Xerath does have stuns and slows, but they are kinda more difficult to hit. Then you've got things like the Rise, Rune Prison, Cassio's always good for setup with the Miasma, simply grounds them and you destroy them. And later on she has the ultimate which can freeze them in time, space, and stone. Things like the Darius, the Mordekaiser, the Singed, the Gnar, these can be really nice things to gank for, except the setup isn't always as reliable as the champions in the S tier page. Anivia's a little slower, but she can get it done. Zed can roam once you gank from with his slow. And then you've got things like the Ethereal Chains from LeBlanc and the Event Horizon from Veigar, which basically set up anyone for absolute free kills. The only downside is their skill shots, enemy teams with dashes and flashes can get away easier, but if they do hit it and you as the jungler follow up, always free kills. In the B tier page, we have things that are kinda Turbo 6 reliant, have a lot of slows, but don't always have the damage to follow up. And maybe I'm underselling the Wither here, but Nasus usually just wants the farming experience simulator, and even though you can be slowed for, what feels like the rest of the game, you just don't always have the damage present to finish off the kills. Viego can handle things himself, but it's not always the most reliable. Yes, Mundo, Olaf, they have chain slows, but it's conditional on them hitting them, and you can always stop it with minions. On the other hand, you might see things like Yasuo and Yone. Yeah, they have CC, yes, Malphite can help them, but again, the skill shots aspect does factor in. Now you've got the Malphite down in this tier and you're thinking, hold up, Malphite has one of the best ultimates in the game. Yes, but he's kinda useless until level 6, and after that I don't really want to be using that for ganks. You guys know me, I like map control, I like objectives, so using that for a Herald fight or Dragon fight, good TP flank bottom lane, that's way more useful than spam ganking a Malphite. No matter what happens, the Shen's going to be useful, the Malphite's going to be useful. The difference is getting Shen ahead with his taunt, his ult, and his TP. His kit is just overwhelmingly better for split pushing, damage, as well as teamfight utility, which is why I rate the Shen so highly for ganks, even though as you could say, it's not necessarily S tier, and honestly maybe he is even fringe A. It's just you can see what he brings over the Malphite and how the Malphite just has to press the button at some point in the game and all things are good. Things like Garen and Quinn, those can be good to gank for. They've got silences or blinds. It's just not as reliable if you as a jungler have no CC. Gangplank is just one of the best in the game. He can slow, he can eat an orange to avoid the CC of the enemy laner, and you can actually get a lot of kills with him. A happy pirate, a happy life. Finally, we have the D tier, and now listen up. I know you can and should gank for a lot of things like Aurelion Sol. The problem is the Aurelion Sol a good player at the champion? Considering there's like 4 of them, I don't think so. Azir, he just controls mid lane by himself, he doesn't need you. Orianna, she's always going to be useful in scale anyway, and she's more about those fights with the ultimate as it is, but you can gank level 6 for sure. You've got things like Kayle and Jace, which are really good to gank for, specifically the Kayle. It's just that the ganks have to be juiced and primed by the jungler. You have to bring the CC, they will bring the damage. Yeah, Jace has a knockback, he can poke from range. But when I'm in loading screen thinking which are 100% free ganks, I'm not rating these two as well. You've got things like Tryndamere that just want to split push. Yeah, they have a slow. Alawi, same thing, she can just turn 2v1s all day. And then you've got Vladimir, who's inherently difficult to gank for, obviously because he doesn't have any CC whatsoever. But he does bring damage, he does bring scaling. Keep it in your mind if it's opportunistic, but you don't necessarily need to force that lane if other laners are better set up. And on that note, the champions that might be ganking for these solo laners, as well as be gankable by junglers, are the real junglers on the map, the supports. Now, is it really any surprise that we have an S, A, and B tier in this situation, and all the S are just all the strong in the meta? Leona, Thresh, Rell, Blitzcrank, Alistar, Nautilus, Rakan, Pyke, Braum. That's a lot of CC, it's a lot of engage, it's a lot of disruption, and in the case of things like Thresh, hey, jungler's not in position, I have a lantern for you. Leona, I don't care about anything, I'm just going in, same as Rell. And the rest of them are pretty self-explanatory, they just bring so much tankiness, so much CC, so much engage, that even the jungler without CC, any laner that wants to gank like a Katarina, is set up to kill. And they are set up to never die, which means when you gank for them, free stuff, and when they gank with you on the mid lane, free stuff. And don't tell them this, but it doesn't really require as much skill as they think to do what they do. On the A tier page, you've got things like Bard, Taric, Karma, Morgana, Myzyra, Nami, Brand, Seraphine, Zillion, and Shaco. A lot of these picks have conditional CC. Things like Bard are really great because he gives you the magical journey of delights, whatever angle you might like. Things like Morgana have a really wide hitbox, almost as wide as Nautilus's. The problem is, again, it can be disrupted by minions, it's not as easy to always position, and things like Zyra. I main Zyra, I have a lot of points on Zyra, she's great to gank for, but the CC is always best as follow-up. Yes, I can hit max range roots and keep them in place for a while, yes, that can set up the juggler, but it's always best and most opportunistically used when a volley burst stuns and you follow up. I mean, we're talking about 200, 300 year champion designs, and the Zyra E comes from 2012. What do you think's gonna happen with that travel time? And on the note of time, yeah, Zillion can speed you up, save your life, but again, he has to hit the double bombs, and very rarely do we have Bjergs and Zillions in solo queue, more just like an old man with a broken clock. The final tiers you can gank for, they do provide things, I guess. They just really don't bring the super CC laning ganks that you really expect from the top tier supports and the secondary supports, and most Tahm Kench's are more likely to eat you and spit you out at the wrong time than actually hit his whiplash tongue and do things properly. Things get a little bit more streamlined from the marksman position, however it's pretty straightforward. S, A, and B, Ashe, slows, and one of the most game-changing ultimates in the game, and when you combine that with a Zyra E combo, now we're talking stacking CC. Jhin can hit his root when other people do damage to someone else. Vayne has a condemn against a wall, which is great if you have CC yourself. Same things go with Jinx, Senna, and Caitlyn. If you hit your CC, their follow-up CC is so good, but if they can initiate with them, you've got the same kind of results. Also for Caitlyn traps, if you CC someone and she slaps the trap down properly, you know, not like in the scrub noob video, we're looking to not make people go crazy. Then you're looking at guaranteed damage. And finally, Varus' ult is absolutely peak performance at level 6 as well. The A tier page is really more concerned with insane damage, chase down potential. Things like Samira can follow up that CC, Draven has his own CC, speed up and damage, Tristana just launches herself in, whereas Xayah actually also has a movement speed buff, CC, Aphelios can CC from across the map, and then Misfortune has slows. All of it make it so that they have decent follow-up and decent engage if they hit those spells, but the bottom tier ADCs are inherently more difficult to lock down targets, and it's really reliant on you as the jungler and you as the support, and then for them to do damage. Twitch is great, Ezreal is great, Kaiser's great, but there's no real CC from their kits, or any at all, that can help you really layer things out properly. I mean, Sivir can make you go faster, and if you're a Hecarim, that's great, but she's not the one hitting the CC. And no other Civ is ever using the spell shield to block Miyazara from a Blitzcrank hook. It's kinda weird, right? I mean, you've got the spell shield, just use it to protect people. I guarantee you these are the same gamers that complain about a lack of peel in the late game. And so you have the rundown of all the laners, all the things that you will want to gank for as a jungler, but which junglers do we use to enact our wrath upon the map and make the enemy jungler feel bad for AFK farming to such a degree over the last year that I labeled junglers in this section in my notes PvP deficient gamers, because they're just afraid of fighting enemy champions because they just want to smack monsters. But if you are tired of being a beta farmer and you want to be an alpha ganker to get those lanes snowballing because you recognize win conditions, this is what you take. S tier, Rek'Sai, Elise, Nunu, Ramus, Lee Sin, Sejuani, Volibear, Skarner, Jarvan 4, Amumumu, Zac, Xin, Gragas, Warwick, and Demon Spawn. They all need to have good early games, they all need to gank, you all need supreme pathing. In Shaka's case, you don't, you just use your Q and you're good to go. Maybe throw a box down, much skill. But they all have the ability to lock down laners in place to set up chain CC with their laners from all the rest of the video. But if you're ganking for things like a Kassadin or Katarina and you're the Rek'Sai, Volibear, Elise, you really don't need their CC as the damage combined with your spells equals death. However, some junglers prefer to farm a little bit and gank a little bit also. There we have the Hekrims of Vyse, Taliyah, Olaf, Graves, Kha'Zix, Echo, Kindred, Ivern, and Trundle. Actually, Trundle's kind of weird, but I suppose the pillar is game-changing, and that's about all he does. Wait, he runs really fast. But things like the Taliyah need setup from the laner, so you want laners that have good CC from the aforementioned sections, things like the Renekton, things like a Riven, things like a Maokai, anything that can root them in place long enough, Pantheon, for the Taliyah to hit her W combo, which needs a little bit of time to animate out. Obviously things like Hecarim and Vi have great pre-6 ganks, but they really come online at level 6 when you combine them together, whereas the previous champions in this list have a lot of CC early and can really hit the map sooner than those two. You've then got things like Graves, Kha'Zix, they don't have CC, they just have slows and a lot of damage. Olaf is kind of the same, he just throws axes. Echo has a really nice W, but it takes a long time to travel and you need to be good at positioning it and hitting it. However, I was going to go with 3 tiers, but you can see we went with 4. This third tier is really focused on junglers that are not the best at ganking pre-6, but at level 6 they can change the game. I mean, you can see Rengar, Fiddle, Evelynn, and Nocturne, you know they change the game with their ultimate, and you know they can gank pre-6, it's just not always the best and not what they want. Wukong has an ultimate, and he can change the game because he's actually in it for once, but he's not in the best spot. The 25 knockups he has in his ult are kinda nice, he's just not on the same level as the other 4. And then finally we have the mega farmers, things like Udyr, Kayn, Lilia. Nidalee can farm and gank, provided she has setup, Master Yi, Shyvana, Mundo, who just looks to cleaver everyone down, and Karthus. Yes, Karthus' wall is great for ganking, yes, his ult is great for ganking, and yes, Udyr can gank with his E, and yes, Kayn must look to fight and gank for his orbs. The thing is, they are not about setting up ganks though, they are great when their team has CC, but really their focus is on obliterating enemy junglers through out-farming them, invading them, counter-jungling them, using amazing counter ganks. And then of course, if you picked one of the best laners for ganking, like say a Camille, any one of these champions would love to gank for you, you have free lockdown and they can just simply chase and hit their spells. Things like the Lily have game-changing ultimates as well, it's just about scaling and farming in the meantime. Her bowling ball is very irritating when it does hit, and she does have the spammable spell and root damage, it's just these are always not as useful if no one else has CC and why we focus on farming, scaling, and fighting. Well, there you have it, a nice overview of every single champion in the game. You can always pause the screen and look to see what ranking they have. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Everyone has different preferences. There's no right answer with this. I just wanted to give everyone an indication of what to think about in your loading screen, a little tool to help you out, all positions in the game. Thank you very much for watching. I hope it was able to help. I hope you enjoyed and learned something. Please do like, share, and comment if you did. Don't forget to head to the Patreon to see all my coaching uploaded as well as tier list infographics. We have a gameplay channel linked below. Make sure your beard is gankable and fresh at the same time, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial. Can we seriously nerf Hecarim properly?